So one of the things that I find really meaningful about the company is that it really creates this what is called heartfelt connection, right? And you talked about it coming from your heart. And what do you think the value and meaning of that is in the world today, with sort of everything that's going on?
I think it's key. I mean, I've always believed in that, and I just always wanted to do something that kind of inspires joy. For a long time, my mission was scatter joy, which is a quote from Emerson. And I borrowed that because to me, I felt like I had this kind of gift and the ability to reach people and help share some of the joy that I feel. I also need that joy, so I create that because I need it myself. But I think the world is in a unique position today, unfortunately, I think because of a lot of the connection that used to happen more naturally now with all of the technology and people on their phones and texting and so forth. There's some communication, but it isn't quite as personal and heartfelt. And I think a greeting card has become this really cherished item when you receive something that personal. I think that makes people feel really, really good that someone cares about them. And I think that, in the world that's increasingly kind of disconnected and there's a lot of disharmony, I think people are really seeking joy in their lives.
So your role has changed a lot over the years.
Yeah.
We have a team of over 25 people at the studio. How has your role changed? And tell me a little bit about the team and maybe selecting Kathy Davis Studios team members.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'd say every few months my role has changed over the years. And of course, when I started, it was just me. And I just, had my FedEx person coming to my condo and we'd, kind of send this stuff off and hope for the best. The first person that I brought in was my friend Lorraine, who's been with me ever since. And she's our administrative director now, but she just helped me organize these samples as I was getting them. So that was really my first hire, and she's still there today.
She still keeps the show running.
Yeah, she's the glue that holds us all together. And then I needed an assistant, and then I needed a bookkeeper. So it was like this slow beginning. The hardest thing was hiring my first art help, because in my head I needed to be the artist and the only artist, and I needed this support system around me. But I met a couple. I actually started out with a high school student that came to me and interviewed me and then asked if I needed help. I had a store at the time, so I started her in the store, and then she said, I can help you in your studio. So I started very slowly getting used to that. I'd have her cut paper, and, do simple tasks, and then I realized that she had a lot of natural talent that I could utilize. And so it was a slow process of adding people to the team, and as I would add people, my role would adapt. I started to manage some people. I started to let the administrative stuff be done by my assistant. And so it has really been this slow morphing of the way I use my time. The struggle has always been for me to keep an eye on the business and care about it as I need to, and really have the time to be creative in a meaningful way. So that has been the challenge, but I think the biggest change was probably 10 or 15 years ago when I started to hire management level. I brought in a president of the company at the time, and then a creative director and so forth. So that was a big change, and of course my role would adapt to that. And now you're the president of Kathy Davis, and we work together, and you keep me up to speed on the day-to-day operation. But my role now is really interesting for me because I get to bring inspiration that I share with the studio as far as developing new collections, which is really fun for me. Some of it's from travel, some of it's from just things in my life. All kinds of things inspire that. I also have the opportunity to mentor some of our teams. We have artists, we have hand letters, we have editorial people, and I'm able to work with them and kind of keep things on track as far as what really belongs in the brand. And then I still do my own creative, kind of just free form and, bring in some new looks and new writing of my own. So it's been quite a
Is that the part you like? Is that the part you like the
I
best?
like that.
So how does the team and all the creative folks, how are they really carrying the brand and vision forward for you?
Well, I think that has evolved as well. At one time, I hired people who could do all the things I was doing, that they could do a little bit of art, they could do a little hand lettering, they could write simple copy. But that has evolved because now we have people that have specific talents working on certain things, and we have a brand team who really monitors what belongs in the brand. And that's really key to developing and promoting our brand out there.
So your daughter, Katie, who we have seen, or I've seen in many photographs over the years, and she kind of talks about how she grew up in art, now works for the company. So tell us about that and what that means to you and her journey.
Actually, it was a really big surprise that Katie ended up in this field, because when she was growing up, she did like watching me. And, we do have some of those photos from when the Inquirer came and did an early story on me. But she was into sports and she was into boys and, kind of had another vibe going. And I have Katie and then my older son, Ben, I never forced them into being creative or considering a career in art or something related. But I think they both, growing up in a house that had a lot of creativity going on, I think they caught the bug. And though Ben doesn't really work in art, he's very musical and he does a lot with technology and so forth, but he's creative in that way. But Katie, all of a sudden in high school one day, she says, well, maybe this art thing isn't so bad after all. So I guess I want to go to art school. I'm like, all right, let's get this portfolio going. And ever since, it's been interesting. And then she showed interest in working with the team at Kathy Davis Studios. And I think she brings something really valuable. She brings her own aesthetic, but she also, in growing up with the brand, is an important part of the brand team in saying, is this Kathy Davis? Because I think she has a pretty good sense of what that is.
Yeah, very deep, authentic understanding of what feels right.
And she's my toughest critic.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does a good job. She works at the home studio here with me quite a bit, and she's like my digital arm because I never really got good at that. But she'll say, no, you're changing it too much. This is the last change I'm going to do for you. Or, I don't like that color, Mom. Or Gen Y's never going to go for that. She's pretty good.
We value that in the studio, too. Her kind of saying, well, I don't think it feels quite right is always good. So one of the other things that has always been inspiring to me was your commitment and passion for philanthropy and giving back. And you have done that in many ways over the years, mostly, without any acknowledgement. And it was really powerful to me when coming to work here to know about that. But talk about that commitment and your interest in giving back and how that sort of fuels you in your life.
It's always been a part of what we do. I know anytime we would take on a new project, we would think of a way to have a meaningful way to give back through that. And so now we have some ways that we're giving back through sale of greeting cards. We have a portion of the proceeds that go to the National Guild for Community Arts Education, also to our own Scattered Joy Center for the Arts, which is something that I founded with Bill Lessa and my husband, and it was a community arts center, and we did a lot of outreach. Now it's evolved into doing international, national, and regional outreach as well. Mm-hmm. So that really feels good. I don't know, I think I grew up with parents that always gave of themselves, and they didn't have much money, but they gave of their time. Mm-hmm. And I needed to invest most of my time into building my business and, being with my family. So through the business, I felt that it was meaningful to give back. Plus, the whole sense of what we do every day is we're giving back in a sense. We're helping people to connect. We're helping people to show they care. And it just feels right and comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite greeting card that you ever designed?
I get asked that every once in a while. That's tough. It's an answer that surprises some people, but there was a sympathy card that I did a number of years ago, and I think I liked it. It caught on and it sold well, so I felt like it did its job. But it was super simple, and it really evolved. I was painting violets, and I was just really playing. And then I thought, oh, if I take these violets and I arrange them like that, and purple's always a good color for mm-hmm. sympathy cards. And I thought, well, what do I want to say? And I really kind of wrote to the art. Sometimes in my process, I create art and then I kind of write mm-hmm. to that because it might inspire something. And sometimes I write first and create the art. But in this sense, in this case, I did this card and it just felt natural. It felt authentic because it was something I would want to say, and it sold well. So I was just so proud of that the simplicity and the success in that. And then I think as far as a line of cards that I did, I liked Harmony when I developed that, and that was very organic. It was a little freer, a little more abstract than my earlier work, but I think it felt good for me mm-hmm. to do that.
I mean, still the big quintessential watercolor flowers, but mm-hmm. you got some of your what you call jazz, sort of the more abstract mm-hmm. elements, which in some ways have evolved into what we're sitting in front of.
Yeah, it's just fun for me to kind of play in both of the abstract and the kind of, commercial or real world. And the play between those two keeps my work fresh, I think.